Welcome to the Navigating Magic podcast, where we explore the interplay between intuition, ethereal consciousness, and everything in between. I teach beings how to generate change through their attention to energies, truths, and processes that are invisible to others. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so pleased to have you here today. I have a very, very special guest that I hold so dear to my heart, Paola Sellaro. I have known Paola now for a number of years, like we're going back pre-COVID.
Yes, I think exactly.
Yeah. Paola is an incredible, talented, and absolutely gorgeous kinesiologist and intuitive healer. I love her work. I love her energy. And I just want to say I've been counting down to this day because I'm so happy you're here.
Likewise, honestly, likewise. Natasha, you are such a light in my life because I feel like it's very challenging to find people who are on your level. And I honestly feel like you are that person for me.
Oh, that means
You're not. Yeah, it's the truth. It really is the truth. You're just amazing at your craft. You're amazing at what you do, and you're enlightening so many people's hearts and minds. And to have a friend like that is just, you can't ask for anything else.
No, I agree. I really agree. And it's funny, like I was thinking about like our journey together. And I think the very first person that I saw after Nick proposed to me was you. We had bumped into you at a cafe randomly.
Oh my God. Yes, I remember that. And you're like, look, I'm engaged. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so honored to be part of this day. Yeah.
So special.
But
So
you
we
know
go
what? It's,
back.
you know how you were saying like that, the new beginning, that was a new beginning for you, like being engaged, starting a new journey together as a couple, and then meeting someone on that path on the same day just is a confirmation of this person that you've met with me, which is me. I'm just going to toot my own horn here, is like, this is the person that you're going to have as a friend in your life too. This is the universe telling you this.
Absolutely.
Honestly.
For sure. Absolutely. More of this, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
More people like
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess like the universe has all these laws and moving aside from like the law of attraction, which is a secondary law, like we're looking at the law of vibration, the law of polarity. Like I think what you're talking about reflects the law of vibration. Like we vibrate at the same frequency because we know how important energy is and you feel it. It's not something that you have to think about. It's just this knowing in your body. And this
Yeah,
resonates.
like attracts like.
Exactly. And the synchronicities. And so I guess, on that note, I am so touched by your ability to heal people in a way that goes beyond the mundane. Being in your presence, there's something about you that there's an affirmation here, or a confirmation, I should say, that you are one of those people who are absolutely living their purpose. And there's so many people I see around us in society who are just sticking to the track that culture, society, family have told them this is the way and this is the only way. And I guess it's a testament to your values and the truth that you hold in your heart about following your calling.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going back to my journey, I finished school and I started studying children's services, and I started working with kids. And it's so interesting to me because now as an adult, as a healer, I'm helping adults connect back to their inner child and getting back to the root of who they truly are before they were programmed. So it's just so amazing how the universe shows you breadcrumbs. And if you can actually see them and follow them, they're going to lead you to your true authentic path.
Absolutely. So talk to me about your breadcrumbs, because I can't imagine it ever have been a straight path for you to go, this is what I've studied or what I was told, because we're programmed to believe you need to finish school, you need to study, and you need to get a job, and you need to get a mortgage, and then you find someone, and then you just marry the person you're with. And if we look around, sorry, not sorry, but it's not working.
No, it's not. It's not, because I feel like the world is shifting into another dimension, and it's either you shift with it or you fall behind.
Absolutely.
And that's where we're at now, where it's no more bullshit. There's no more bullshit. You have to really cut through this. And the new generation that's coming in, I feel like they are helping to lift the veil. And when I say new generation, I mean new generation of light leaders, light workers, light healers. They are here to help us, and it's all around us now. It's something that you can't hide from anymore. The truth is going to hit you like a wall if you don't wake up. That's really how it is. It's like you're going to be sick. You're going to be falling into a repeated habit of the same people, the same situations, the same experiences if something doesn't come and change you.
Yeah. It's these repeating patterns and loops that are like very obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk to me about, in your experience, in your field, how has this shown up? Where is it in terms of people? Like there's so much more people now, we can say confidently, that are moving away from the narrative, moving away from Western medicine, because it's simply not working. We've been able to poke holes.
Yeah, well, Natasha, you would probably know this, but like pharmacy in Greek is like pharmakia, which means witchcraft, right? So if you think about that, it's poison. So realistically, what everybody is feeding themselves with when they've got like an illness is poison. And it's until you realize that God has created Mother Earth to be able to provide you with natural healing remedies to be able to heal you. People need to realize that the earth is your medicine. And it's the elements around you that can heal you. It's not the poisons. The poisons, yes, it might fix one thing, but cause many other problems. And I think it's like, get your power back. It's time to find out the truth. It's time to really evolve now, because it's not, we're waiting for a savior. We are, but really you're the savior.
Exactly.
And it's like Christ coming inside you and becoming you. That's what the whole truth is. It's like we've been waiting for someone to come and help us, but you need to help you. You need to seek it. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened. Jesus came to reveal the truth to everybody, but not to say, oh, yes, you need to wait for me to come back. No, I'm going to activate myself inside you, so that way you can be the Christ and wake up everybody else. Exactly. That's how I feel strongly.
Yeah.
It's very controversial.
It is. And like, I'm curious if any of our listeners are triggered by this. We want you to be triggered. We're not here to fluff around anymore, because I don't know about you, Paula, but I find it very difficult to be around people where they're just blinded to the truth. Like, for instance, an example would be, just, common symptoms showing up, like a headache or, upset tummy, or just your everyday normal symptoms that can show up. Now, people like you and I, we're very well aware, and we've done the work, and we use it through our practice, that we understand that this is your body's subconscious mind is signaling an important message to you.
Yes.
The thing is, the subconscious mind doesn't speak English or your chosen language. It speaks through signs and symbols and through light. And so I know for me personally, anytime I get a migraine or a headache, it's literally my sign, because I now understand the signals that my body is sending me, is I've just got too much on my plate. and I cannot, and I'm overwhelmed, and I've got this to-do list, and I literally go 24 hours in a day, sleep, all the things I have to do, I cannot get it done in time. And the moment I acknowledge I cannot get it done in time, the headache shows up. So what does the headache do? It pulls me back. And each time that happens, I'm just amazed at the times that it shows up. Now, when I tell people, oh, I've got a headache, their first, I guess, signal is, oh, go and get, have you had any Panadol? And I'm sorry, but I don't touch that stuff because, again, let's look back. We cannot ever replace nature.
That's
all
right.
These Western medicine examples, they are all replicating. They're all synthetically producing what nature can give us naturally.
Yeah, well, you look at animals, right? Animals don't take medication, but they use the nature to heal them. They ground themselves, they shake themselves off when they're stressed and fight or flight. So it's like all these things that we see animals do, we need to start learning from them and actually apply them. Because, look, like you said earlier in relation to the headache, if you're going to take a Panadol, it's going to affect your gut. And then your gut is your second brain. So if whatever you put in your stomach affects you physically and mentally. So it's really important to know, what are you ingesting? What are you putting in yourself that's causing all these problems? Now, when you said about the headache, when you're stressed and all of that sort of stuff, your brain is literally like a hard drive. It stores all of these emotions, memories, and situations. And sometimes it's just the matter of there's too many files up. You need to delete these files, remove them, put them away, and then you're able to have just a clean slate and have more memory to put in what you want instead. What do you want instead? Order the brain. It needs order. It needs structure. That's why it's just overwhelmed. It's like a computer.
I don't think you want to see my Google Chrome tabs. It's exactly a perfect bringing to light what's in here.
It's so true. But they're all representations, like our house, our room, our car is all a representation of our mind. If we have a messy room, if we have a messy car, if we have a messy wardrobe, it's just a representation of our mind.
Absolutely. So true. It's mirroring. Yeah, you're exactly right. And like decluttering is I can't function unless I've decluttered, even just organizing things in their place. I think this is one of the things that I instantly feel when I walk into a home. You can feel the clutter, feel the mess, and then you can't help. And I'm not coming from a place of judgment. It's just a place of, I'm literally observing. You understand why certain aspects of the person's life may not be working out. You just question, you just, make that question. Have you thought about organizing this? And then things fall into place.
Yeah, because we're not just one size fits all. We need to look at the person holistically, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and energetically. Right? So when we see what the particular issue is, it's like the triangle of health. You fix one area and then it balances everything else out. Simple as that. And it could be so simple, but that's the cool thing about my work. And that's why I love it so much, is because the body is the one that tells me what the issue is. It's not me, it's them. And I want to bring them power back to them, because it's like, this is you, this is your truth. This is exactly what your body is telling me. You've got the information. Here's the power. Hold it in your hand.
Absolutely. So spot on. And talk to me a little bit about, because maybe some of our listeners, they may not be aware. So you tune into the body. Now, people may think that the person has to literally voice the concern or voice what's wrong with them.
I actually find it more interesting when a client comes to me and they're not voicing it. And sometimes I just tell them, okay, look, you're going to talk to me based on your ego. Yeah. I want to go into your higher self and I want to go to the root issue here, because you're only seeing one side of things. Your body and your mind and your spirit knows all of the other issues. That's the reason why you're going to talk to me about this particular subject. So when we go in, it's like, wow, that's exactly what I was going to talk to you about. That's exactly how I've been feeling. I didn't know that this was the case. Wow, it's spot on, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, yes, your body knows. So the way kinesiology works is I'm tapping into the subconscious through the body. So the body is connected. So your muscles are connected to your nervous system, and your nervous system is connected to the database, which is the hard drive, the subconscious. So as we know now, the subconscious mind holds all the information. So the way I access that is through muscle testing. So we find out, okay, this is the issue, this is the intention, what is the actual problem? What's hidden? And let's release it. And it happens within an hour. Within an hour, we just get that shit cleared. And the next day, you're just feeling so much different. You see things differently.
Absolutely. I even think I remember back, this was 2020, could have been 21. I'd had a session with you. And at the time, I think because of COVID and all the things, I didn't have a teaching job at the time because I was casual. And I remember walking out of your office, and before I even got to the car, like just the divine timing, I received a phone call, say, hi, can you do a 3-week block?
Wow.
And I remember going, it hasn't even been 90 seconds of me leaving your office, just feeling so cleared. And you just go, wow, this really works.
Because you realize you're all energy. So once you clear that stagnant energy, you're able to attract the thing that you want without force.
Exactly. So spot on.
And same thing with you, Natasha. When I had a session with you the other day, oh my God. Like, this is why it's so important for healers to see other healers sometimes, because when you're in a storm, you can't see straight, you can't think straight. So it's okay to not be okay sometimes. It's all right. And even if you are a healer and you feel intimidated by going to see another healer, who cares, man? You're being guided to that person for a reason.
Yeah.
Let them give you some of their light, because you need it. It's like a torch. You're giving your light to that person so they can ignite it and share some light to other people. So going back to your session, I was feeling so not myself, and I knew immediately. But the funny thing is that I booked you in for an animal communication session. And it's so beautiful how divine intervention works, because, again, going in for an animal communication session, and we went off topic, completely separate to that, and we went into a deep healing session because you knew I needed it. And whatever you did, however you did it, shifted so much for me. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Hearing that from a fellow peer colleague, it's like it really is touching and heartwarming to hear. But the thing is, it's like, and I know you resonate with this, it's, your clients thank you for the work, but then you put this back onto them and you go, well, you showed up, you're investing in yourself, and at the end of the day, you're consenting for this healing and the paradigm shift to take place within your own body.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest testaments to this is when someone does walk away from a session and they actually can feel the shift. You go, I didn't touch you physically. I wasn't even in the same room as you.
Yep.
It's online. I didn't offer you any prescriptions. I didn't mask your symptoms. I don't even need to know what the symptoms are. But we get to the root cause.
Yep. And this is the thing people ask, is online, going to be the same as physical? And I go, okay, let me just bring it to you this way. Wi-Fi in your room? Yes. Okay. So you've got your phone in the other room and the Wi-Fi modem in another, yet you're still broadcasting the internet from that Wi-Fi to your phone. So how can it work on a physical device but not on you? It's exactly the same thing.
Great metaphor.
Thank you.
I like that. I'm going to start using it.
Because I was like, how can I get people to understand that energy is all around us? That it's not, you don't need to physically touch someone. It's like, the Greeks know this, or the Italians, and even the Middle Eastern, but the evil eye.
Yeah.
Right? Someone just thinks of you and gives you the evil eye. Someone just sees your photo and gives you the evil eye, and then your grandmother on the other end of the world on the phone is taking the evil eye off you. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So true. It's funny. Each time we tell, I think it was my father-in-law last time, it's like, oh, had a headache. It's like, oh, or I think we earlier, actually middle of this year, we were selling our home. And we experienced a few lessons along the way. And in the end, I just said, in order for this to happen, it needs to happen on an energetic level. The change needs to happen in me first before I can get the physical 3D to match up with my energy.
Yes.
So I did a really big, like an energetic and spiritual clearing. It's a process I took myself through. And I just had this confidence that it was going to work. And it was on a Friday night, or Friday during the day that I did it. And then Friday night, I was purging. I was throwing up. And I thought, gosh, gastro. And I was trying to, in my mind, go, did I see my nephew? Where was I around anyone? And I was just trying to, logically make sense of it. But after the fact, I realized, and I made that connection. It was so instantaneous to go, well, hey, I did an energetic purge. Of course, my body is going to catch up to this. And then within a week, our home sold.
Wow, there you go.
This whole time we've just been having blocks and roadblocks and challenges along the way. And you go, okay, I needed to make the change on the inside. And I guess, when a week later or whenever it was, we saw my father-in-law, said, oh, both Nick and I, we had, a vomiting bug. And then the first response was, oh, maybe someone's put the evil eye on you.
Oh, gosh.
We got to laugh at these things, but I guess, different cultures call it different things, but we all know it exists. We all know it's real.
Yes, that's right.
And
that's exactly right.
And I think, I don't think we've ever spoken about this, but like energetically protecting ourselves, it's something that I'm constantly doing, and I'm doing it more and more because now the energies around us, the world is changing. The energy is dense. Our 3D world is very dense. We talk about 4D, we can talk about 5D, but from a 3D perspective, it's very harsh.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to go down that controversial road, again, like you said, there's polarity. There's the light and then there's the dark. But again, the opposing forces are necessary in order to appreciate one for the other. Now, as we shift and evolve as beings of light, we are also going to counteract the opposite of that. We're going to feel frequencies that are being emitted from the opposite end of the spectrum to control the narrative that this reality holds. Now, because we're shifting and the earth is shifting and we are shifting with it, the opposing forces want to dim that because they're afraid of us waking up. Because once we awaken, there's no more control. And that brings them a lot of fear. And I remember actually bringing this up. Maybe it was, I'd say, during COVID. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of doubt. There was a lot of people falling for the narrative. And I had a vision. It was very scary too. I had a vision. It was the earth, the globe, and there was these men in black standing around the earth, and they were getting high off the fear, the energy of the fear, and they were sucking it. And then all of a sudden a shift happened in the globe and it all turned white. And all of a sudden they started covering their eyes because they were blinded by the light. So that's a representation of what they were trying to do and how they are also failing, because the truth is that people are going to wake up. It's a matter of time. because yes, there are dark forces working, but there are light forces working, and they're awakening in all of us, in you, in me, in many other people that are seeking truth. And I'm sure you would have had that experience too. It's like you're living in this paradigm of lies, and then you get woken up to it, and then you go through a process of, I can't believe the world is doing this. I can't believe this is happening to me. I can't believe I've been lied to. And you go through that anger and resentment. So I think that's the 4D. And then you go into 5D, which is where we're at now. And it's like, I can control the narrative, my reality now. I'm no longer going to hold on to the anger and resentment anymore. Yep, I've passed that stage now. I'm moving on to, okay, how can I change this new reality for me? What can I do? Everything I think, everything I feel, everything I say is creating a new reality for me. And that's where I want people to start shifting towards now, the 5D.
Yes. Yeah. And it's a matter of people, I guess, catching up to this, because it's inevitable. And like, I'm going to touch on this because the astrology has, a lot of my listeners know I'm an astrologer, and the astrology now tells us that we are literally at the brink of a whole new era. Every 2000 years, we go through a different shift. Like we had the age of Pisces, which was during Jesus's era, and that's why the fish symbol was representative of that. Prior to that, we had the age of Taurus, and that's why in a lot of the Jewish culture and the Old Testament, you had the bull, the ram, which is a symbol of the Taurian. And so now that we're going into the age of Aquarius, we've been on the brink of this now for about 10 years. And we need to think about it. It's a 2000-year shift. And we're literally at the very beginning of this race. And so obviously, when there is a shift from one sign into another, we all experience the changes. And as human beings, we are so accustomed to familiarity. It's a huge, it makes us a big, it's a big part of being human. However, when we know this, that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, it changes the way that we see life and the way that we relate to each other.
Yeah.
So looking at this new world now, what does Aquarius represent? Well, Aquarius values freedom. If there's one word that I can summarize Aquarius with. And so what is the freedom? We're looking at this from a soul perspective. It's your sovereignty. And I think our sovereignty has been compromised for a long time now.
Yep.
In it, you realize it, you go, hang on a sec, I cannot and will not abide by this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily doing this in a rebellious way, but it's literally owning up to your own power and going, okay, well, moving forward, what do I want for my life? And we have never, ever lived in such a time where, as women in particular, have we had such a freedom of expression. I mean, imagine you and I doing this podcast in the Middle Ages.
Oh, we would have been burnt to the stake. Because again, people fear what they don't know. And once they understand it, they can recognize that it's the truth. I mean, Jesus died because he was here revealing truth that people didn't understand. So, I mean, that's us.
Yeah.
We are in a space where the truth is so powerful now that people are actually starting to recognize it. And I'm a big believer that there is a lot of truth in all religions. Honestly, there is. And there is a lot of lies and manipulation in all of them too. But there is something that is a common denominator, and that is that there is God. There is a God. There is a being that is far beyond our understanding, that when we start connecting to God, whatever you want to call it as or see it as, you're going to start seeing this divine intervention take hold in your life and transform you. Now, I just want to go back to what you said earlier. You said, you're an astrologer, and a lot of people in the, let's just say, Christian faith and other faiths would probably look to that as satanic. Yeah. And I just want to bring to people's attention that the wise men that went to go see the star to follow Christ's birth were astrologers. They were looking to the stars because the stars aligned for them, and they saw that Jesus was going to be born. So please tell me the contradiction. If you understand as above, so below, you will then hold control and power of your life and your reality. But they didn't want you to do that. They made it out like it was taboo. But the truth is, it's not. It's wake up, people. Don't you realize that they've been trying to lie to you all your life because they want to hold the power? They want to make you sick with medication. They want to tell lies to your vision on television. So it's time now to realize that everything that you hear, listen to, music, television, eat, is all hypnosis. That's all it is.
Yeah. And we have been programmed for far too long. And like, if we're going to go back to the analogy of the mind being like a computer, well, what do computer programmers do? They literally program a computer, and the operating system then spits out whatever you program it with.
And this is why I died. Like, I died when I heard that Bill Gates came out with a new vaccine, because I'm like, dude, don't you see the correlation? He works for Microsoft. He's coming out with a vaccine. And what? How is this possible? Don't you see it in plain sight?
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I guess people can see it now. I think there are some, I know people who have, I guess, awakened.
Thank God for that.
This, it's a harsh truth and it's a harsh lesson to learn.
Yep.
But at the same time, like, there's this, like, this is something that's constantly on my mind. Like, people being destined to do this, the sacrifice of others versus having free will, because living under this assumption, and this applies to every theme and topic in your life, whether it be health or relationships and jobs and career paths and your financial status, there is no puppet master, like AKA God, going, okay, Q, now it's time for you to get now it's time for you to get marry this person, or it's time for you to get dumped by this person, or it's time for you to win the lotto, but you three can go and, lose your home. It doesn't work like that.
Nope.
We have so much more power than we realize. And if we're going to look at like the ancient Hermetic teaching, so as above, so below, everything is a reflection, a mirror reflection of what happens above is the macrocosm, and then we are the microcosm.
Yeah, because we're made out of the same stuff.
Exactly. We are all connected. So if we're all made of the same stuff and we're all connected, what differentiates us are these so-called labels.
That's right.
Labels are what cause wars, division, and conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got culture, we've got religion, sex. They're the three things. Oh, and money. Money comes with, power. You can intertwine those two words together, but they're the three main, I guess, topics that cause division amongst us, as individuals living in our lives versus worldly countries and politics and people in power.
Ugh, makes me sick thinking about it, to be honest, because it's like, how dare you? Oh, sorry. I get really touchy about it because every soul is unique and comes from the same source. And then they come here to have a human experience, and they're in this human experience being controlled by narratives and labels, like you said. And it's like they're not living their soul purpose because they're being blinded and hidden from the truth of what they actually came here to do. You came here to do so much more than what you're doing. And that's why I get so passionate about helping people find their truth and their purpose, is because you've been lied to all your life. And this is not the truth. What you're living, what jail that you've got yourself in is not the true purpose of you. You're made for so much more. You were made on purpose for a purpose, not to live this life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sticking like people can call it like the dark night of the soul, or, you know, like a heavy period in our life. But, you know, when you zoom out and look at those moments in your life, like we've all had them. We've all had those dark moments in our life where we, at the time, we may have felt hopeless or helpless, and in despair. But looking back, I always think back to my personal, you know, dark moments. I'm so grateful for them because they have led me to where I am today.
Yeah. There's a saying, it's like imagine an egg. If you crack the egg from the outside, the life in the egg dies. But if you crack from the inside, life begins. So it all starts with us in our own divine timing. When we're ready to awaken, we will awaken. But if we're forced to, it's like you kind of prematurely awaken people, if that makes sense. They're not ready for it. So, but don't underestimate the seed that you plant in people's minds, because it will patch when it's time to.
Oh, for sure. And I guess this is a privilege, and I consider it to be very sacred, like in our line of work, where sometimes the relationship, you know, we have with our clients, the stem starts to sprout, whether it be weeks, months, or sometimes years later, because they can honestly correlate the changes through that encounter, through that healing session, or through that sometimes even just a conversation, because that seed planted through the right intention and, you know, grown with love and all the right things our world has a certain order. You know, we don't harvest the fruit before we plant the seed.
That's right.
So the harvest comes later, and I think acknowledging, you know, and you can easily track your life. You know, if we were to, you know, maybe the Virgo in me is going, let's create a spreadsheet, or let's create a document, and let's look back at different moments in your life. You would be able to see the correlation, because everything has a cause and effect. You know, one aspect leading to another. And, you know, like I'll use the analogy of like the sliding doors moment. If one little thing didn't happen, then it's like this ripple effect, domino effect of other things like coming into your life. But we need to acknowledge these things.
Yeah, because even the dark moments that we go through are there for a purpose to help us reveal the light. It's like, how can you see the cracks? You know, that those lights of cracks through the darkness if we didn't have the dark.
Sure.
So it's okay. It's okay. They do serve a purpose, but now the purpose in this reality is to get out of the darkness.
And when we realize like we're a spiritual being, like your human journey is only one little sliver of the bigger picture.
Exactly.
So for me, that sounds so comforting, because death in the physical form, whether it be an energetic or metaphoric death versus a physical death, it is not the end.
Never. It's like a transformation, if anything. It's like even when you're going through the dark night of the soul, you are on the brinks of a transformation to come out of something else. And there's so many beautiful metaphors of this. It's like the butterfly. Before it becomes a butterfly, it's a caterpillar. It takes longer to get from A to B. It's slow, you know, it's always looking down. It's probably a little bit depressed. And then eventually it gets to the point where it's just had enough, and it just cocoons itself and stays away from everyone. And then in that cocoon, that's where the kind of transformation takes place. And then finally they're ready to emerge, and they emerge as a butterfly. They see things from a higher perspective now, and they're able to get from A to B a lot quicker than what they were when they were a caterpillar.
So true.
So it's exactly the same as what we go through in our own transformation.
Yeah. And it's that when you, I guess, acknowledge and bring awareness to our own metamorphosis, we can all of a sudden it releases us from the pressures and the darker, more emotions that, I guess, weigh us down.
Yeah.
And, you know, if we're going to look at the polarity, you've got fear, you've got love. They're on opposite ends of each other.
Yeah.
Like I've started now, anytime I'm scared of doing something, and I think I've been it's been holding me back from a lot of things. And now all I have to do is go, okay, fear, come at me. let's have a talk. I'm going to dance with you now. And all of a sudden, I'm no longer scared to do the things I want to do. I'm no longer scared to speak up. I'm no longer scared to show myself, to put myself in the spotlight, or to acknowledge, and I own my own power and go, you know what? I am here to help, and I know how I can help you, but you are the one who has to say yes.
Yep, exactly right. And it's interesting that you say that, because it's like, we have a gift. We do have a gift, and we're here to share it. And this gift is only for people who are ready to actually receive it. So I've had people come to me and say, oh, I really want to bring my mum to a session. I know it will be beneficial for her. But she, the mother, is not ready to receive yet. She's still wanting to hold on to her story. And when you're bringing someone on behalf of someone else, it doesn't work that way. You need to first be ready, and then the transformation takes hold. Because I've done sessions on people that have been asked to come, like a mother bringing someone else, and they're just coming to say, yes, okay, I'll come, blah, blah, blah. But the session doesn't go the way it needs to go. There's just that resistance because she's not ready.
Yeah. It's so true. And I guess this is where, like, we obviously want the best for our friends, for our family. And what I've learned is, I've learned this the hard way.
Yes. I know exactly what you're going to say.
But the best thing that we can do is when you do want to offer that help for others, and when you can see a need and you found a way that where you can fill that gap, is instead of dragging them along, is to literally just become that role model for them.
Yep.
Show them the transformation and the changes in your life, and you won't even have to ask them. By default, they will naturally want what you have because you found.
That's exactly right. Be the example, be the change you want to see in other people.
Exactly. So true. So true.
Like my mum and my dad they were so oblivious to the work that I do. They didn't understand it. And I mean, them seeing my own transformation and the reviews and the testimonials and people coming up to them and just saying, oh my God, your daughter has changed my life, has made them realize, shit, what does my daughter actually do? Like, let's have a session. And when my mom actually had her first session with me, she started bawling her eyes out crying because she surrendered. There was a lot that she needed to release. And then after that session, she said, I'm not coming anymore. And I said, why? She's like, because I don't want to be vulnerable in front of you. I don't want to cry like that. And I said, Mum, like, honestly, I love you. Don't see me as your daughter in the session. Just see me as someone here to help you. And the moment you stop seeing me as your little daughter, you're going to be able to receive more. And she did. She came again, and that's when things got real.
Wow. That is so powerful. And what an honor for you to be able to offer that to your parents.
It really was, because it's like, for so long, mum and dad support you and give to you. And sometimes we feel hopeless as children when we see our parents suffer, because it's like, I don't know, like, it's like I feel powerless, I feel hopeless. But really, if you bring the attention back to them and be like, Mum, Dad, you hold the power. You hold the key to your own happiness. Stop neglecting yourself for the sake of other people now. You really need to give it back to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in a way, like, your mom is like, could be represented as the most amazing role model for you, because by her showing her vulnerability in front of you, then allows you to show up. And we need a little vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not all up on our high horse, and often there's this stigma associated with, like, so-called spiritual people as, oh, you need to be all love and light, and you need to only do good, and you need to, you know, be this certain image.
Mm-hmm.
And the minute you're real with people, the minute you say, no, I've got boundaries, and the minute, you know, you show a little bit of vulnerability, you're like, hey, life happens to me as well, all of a sudden the tables are no longer, there's this I guess perception and this this vision
Yeah.
It's more grounded.
Yeah, because it's like you're allowing other people, you're giving people permission to be vulnerable when you're vulnerable with them.
So
And
true.
that's the truth. Again, we're mirrors. And I mean, the truth is the most powerful vibration on this earth because the truth sets everyone free. And if we are healers and we're not living the truth of our own vulnerabilities or being authentic to ourselves, are we really a true healer? No, we're fake. We're putting on a facade. So don't come at me and saying, "Oh, love and light." No, that's not the truth. The truth is that there is darkness too, and it's through the shadows that we're able to then connect to the light.
Yeah. In ancient alchemy, there's this concept of negredo, albedo, rubedo. So negredo is the black, albedo is white, and the negredo is red.
Okay.
And so you have to start at negredo, which is black, aka your darkness, your shadow, before you're able to get to albedo, aka white, light.
Mm.
And what happens is we're constantly oscillating between darkness and light, darkness and light. But what really solidifies and shifts us out of this, I guess, 3D reality is solidifying it through the rubedo, which is the red tincture.
Mm.
And this can also be like, I'd love to explain it from like an astrological perspective. The black represents Saturn,
Mm-hmm.
our darkness. It's it can also correlate to death. Like we constantly have to go through these deaths and rebirths. We're constantly evaluating and growing and going from caterpillars to butterflies. It's this constant.
Yeah.
And then we experience the light, and the light is represented by the sun. It's our vital life force. It's our energetic consciousness. And then what becomes the red, it's actually Mars. And Mars actually represents our action. Because you can sit and meditate on a mountain for 3 years, all good, but unless you physically take action, unless you use your hands to help others, unless you're here to forward momentum your life, I'm sorry, but nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, it's the whole polarity between masculine and feminine as well. The masculine is the provider, and the mother, the feminine, is the nurturer. So you can't just have a provider. You're going to just have a lot of junk here. But the feminine energy is here to create it.
Sure.
So it's like another analogy, like the husband will come and bring fruits and vegetables home. Who'll provide you with fruits and vegetables. And then the wife cuts these fruits and vegetables and makes a salad.
Yeah.
So the yin and yang of life is necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, there's so many like symbols and analogies that I just love because they stick.
Mm.
You're less likely to remember the theory and more likely to remember the story, and it also provokes visuals in the mind.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's how a lot of ascended masters taught. Because how can you explain color to a blind person? They won't understand it. The language they won't understand. But the moment you give them an example of something that is valid and a valid point that they have an understanding of, it sticks in the brain. So even in the Bible, for example, you're going to see a lot of storytelling in order for the message to be portrayed. And it's the same thing. It's like the story is what gets people understanding the message.
Mm. Yeah, so true. And like you think back to children love stories. They, you can get even as early as 1 year old. Like even yesterday, I was with my cousin. She's got maybe 7, 8-month-old child, and just talking to her, I can only imagine from her perspective, like just this story is coming to life in her little cute mind, brings it to life. And then we think about like the not just Disney, but the whole Hollywood industry. There's There's a reason why it's one of the biggest industries in the world. It's because they know that we're suckers for stories.
Oh my God, Natasha, I'm going to tell you something that came to me the other day, and I never told you this. So I got this information download. So the fallen angels, the reptilians, and all of that sort of side of life, right? That run the show, the narrative and Hollywood and all of that. They have been disconnected from source God, right? They don't have that direct line like we do. So they rely on us to give them that energy, right? And what I got in my head was that because of that, they're not able to manifest like we do. We manifest quite easily. We're visual. So everything, every narrative that they've ever wanted to bring out into the world, they would have to show us first in movies and in Hollywood in order for us humans to project it outward and create it. So the moment we stop watching shit on television and listening to rubbish music is the moment we stop tuning into their narrative and manifesting their world, and we start creating our own.
Yeah. That's really powerful.
I know.
That's really like next level.
Yep.
Really, and it's you can hear the truth vibrating as you're speaking. I have so much to unpack from that because like I'm currently struggling with like going online and seeing a lot of followers and people posting about what's happening in the war.
Yes.
And there's tragic images and videos that are surfacing.
Yep.
And a big part of me struggles with that, not because I'm ignoring it, not because I am turning my back on it, but because people like you and I really understand how our thoughts create our reality.
Correct.
And all this is doing is literally feeding more of this.
Yes, exactly.
I genuinely wish more people understood this.
And going back to that, people underestimate both sides. Like you said earlier, there needs to be the energy around it and also the action around it. Energy creates something physical. So if we want something to shift, we need to envision the shift and focus on what we want instead for this situation. Instead of drawing our energy and attention on what's happening there and the horrid narrative that's being played, I'm not saying that that's not happening. Of course it's fucking happening. Of course it's terrible. Of course it's evil. Yes, absolutely. Like children and everything that's happening there. However, we don't need to underestimate the ability of helping, and the way we help is sending the energy of the miracle that needs to happen there. Envisioning it in our mind, like I said earlier, if we can create the narrative based on what the reptilians' agenda wants us to portray, we also have the power to manifest and create the best reality for them.
Yeah.
So let's go back to that. Let's start praying. Let's start putting our energy in that instead of focusing on the problem, because you can't make a solution out of the same issue, the same problem. It's not going to work.
Absolutely. You've given me an idea.
Ooh.
My ideas are dangerous. Because we're doers, you and I.
Yes, we are.
Back and accept things for what they are. I'm just going to say it before I even think about it.
Say it.
So, like, how would you feel about creating a space where we get people on board to literally send this energy? We can teach people how to work.
100%. 100%. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here to do. And if we do it together, there's a saying, and it's even Jesus says it. And I'll bring myself back to Jesus because I feel very much connected to him. I feel like he works with me a lot. And what he's saying is when people gather together in prayer, the frequency is stronger than if you were to do it alone.
Definitely.
So absolutely. With visual, with intention, with prayer, 100%. Let's bring our light together and create a transformative experience for the world.
Yeah. It's very much needed. And I think what people need now is we need leaders to step up. And I don't mean so-called political leaders with a title that, you know, like from a government perspective. I'm talking real leaders, authentic leaders stepping into their power and not leading from a space of ego, but leading from a space of looking at this vision. What is the vision we need to create? Because there is this field, this energetic field that we are all connected to. There have been, like, I've read so many stories and I've heard so many examples of people in extremely vulnerable positions receiving this so-called energy from others in their state of despair. Like, there's one particular story I'll draw your attention to. A particular woman was, I think it was something like a 16-car pileup. And she got jammed in between two cars. You can imagine the scenario. And she was trapped in her car. And she was trying to connect to her own, being so vulnerable. She obviously was confused. She had head trauma. Her chest was impacted through the steering wheel. There was glass shattered everywhere. And she tried to go inwards to connect with herself, to go, I'm going to get through this. And she was drawing on her own light to, I'm going to get out of this. I'm good. I'm healed. She kept reinforcing those thoughts. And as traffic was driving by until the emergency services got there, she could literally hear and receive the thoughts of all the passerbys. And she could hear things like, oh my God, I'm going to be late for work, or, oh, why can't people drive? And there were like negative comments thrown in. But she remembers hearing comments from people, like literally receiving, not just hearing it, but actually putting it into action, whereby people were driving by sending prayers, saying, God protect you. May the angels be with you. And there was a lot of that happening that started to happen. And
wow, I got goosebumps.
Started actually sending this healing light and love and prayers to God in order to help save her. She actually taught herself in that moment, like I can only imagine the impact, the trauma, and time would be so slow in that moment. She blocked out all the negative comments, complaints about the traffic, and people's really putting their own selfish agendas before what has just happened. And she held on to all the healing and the light being sent to her. And given the scenario of how they had to cut her out of the car and the atrocity that she had just experienced, she was able to then, after her recovery, reflect on what happened. And to this day, she attests her recovery and her life even being saved to those people sending the love and light.
There you go.
It is so powerful to receive this. And I guess, there might be some skeptics out there. You have to try this. You have to experience it before, people are so easy to diss things that they know nothing about, like you said earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just goes down to faith. Faith is so important. Like, I know I'm going to bring it back, but it's just an example of, there's a story that's so beautiful. There's this woman back in the days of Jesus when he was teaching, where she was suffering from a really bad hemorrhage. She was bleeding constantly. And she knew of Jesus's ability to heal, and she believed in it so much that she saw Jesus in this big crowd of people, and she was saying to herself, if I just touch a piece of his clothing, I know I will be able to be healed. I know it. So she goes and runs to this big crowd and manages to get a bit of tether of his clothes, and she drops down to the ground, and she's realizing that she felt this power come through her and heal her. And Jesus is like, who touched me? And the disciples are just like, dude, you're surrounded by people. Like, what do you mean, who touched you? Everyone's around you. And he's like, no, I felt the power being drawn out of me someone touched me, and he already knew who it was. And he looked down to the ground, and it was that woman. And she's like, I'm so sorry I touched you. You're not unclean. I'm sorry. And he's like, daughter, your faith has made you whole. It wasn't me. It's because you believed that you were going to be healed, that you are healed. And he is bringing back the power to that little girl, to that woman.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not me. It's me and my faith in my ability that has ignited the faith in you.
You become the conduit.
Exactly. And this is why bringing back to this, how do I say it? I was being shown that everything that's happening in our world right now is also a representation of a lot of prophecy being fulfilled. However, in saying that, the prophecy itself is a timeline, and that timeline can shift based on what we do now. We can change this timeline. That revelation was only revealed based on if nothing changed. That means that God needed to intervene and create a new heaven on earth. But we are being called to reincarnate on this earth to help shift this timeline. So this doesn't actually have to take place, that we can actually create heaven on earth.
Yeah.
So banding together, all of us as light workers that are sent from God to reincarnate here to help humanity.
And it's interesting you say that the timeline, it's not set in stone, because I've started changing some of my terminology, especially when I'm working with clients. I tell them I'm not predicting something, I'm projecting, because you now can use this certain piece of information and you can transmute it.
Correct.
It can go as is, and you can sit back and be in the passenger seat and just, go along with the ride or flow along with the tidal wave. However, you can get into that driver's seat and you can make something happen with it.
That's exactly right.
It's all about teaching people your mind, your words, the things things we ingest. And you've touched on this. It's not just the foods we ingest, it's the images, it's the conversations you have, it's the movies you watch, the music you listen to. Everything you ingest is either working with you or against you.
Yep. Oh, you know what? I'm so excited for anybody who's listening to this podcast, because honestly, this is the most truest, authentic talk anybody could bloody have. I'm not even joking. Like, I wish that I had two people to listen to that were saying this many years ago for me on my journey.
Agree. I second that.
Yeah.
You've given me the name, but we'll talk about this off air.
Yes, please.
If you're listening to this, you're really going to have to watch this space, because if any two people can make shit happen, it's Paola and Natasha.
Manifesting generator and projector. Am I right?
Yeah.
Hey.
So I'll sleep while and bring in all the information through the dreams and the spiritual realm.
Oh gosh. Did we disconnect for a second?
Not that I could see.
Okay, good. Sorry, I had a call come through. I was hoping, please don't tell me we got disconnected. Okay, good.
But I genuinely want to thank you for this incredible conversation. It just feels like two hearts alight, two hearts coming together with a vision, with a truth, and wanting to move people, some parts of us, we need to trigger people, because that's the only way the shift is going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I genuinely believe that this is going to be the first of many conversations we have together online.
Yes, something has just started.
And it's interesting. I do this daily, but I looked at the astrology of today, and the sun is directly opposite Jupiter.
Oh.
And yourself being a Jupiter ruled sign, being a badge, double fire. Jupiter's your ruling planet. And so Jupiter obviously expands what he touches. And so being opposite the sun is our consciousness, it's our vitality, it's our light. So there's this interesting correlation happening, as above, so below.
That's exactly right. As above, so below. And it's just, again, when two forces that are so similar come together with the same purpose, I can't even begin to imagine what we start to create together.
Absolutely. So please tell our listeners, how can they find you? Where are you available?
So, but my beautiful, amazing listeners that are hearing the truth, if you feel aligned to what we have to offer, I am Equilibrium Intuitive and I am on Instagram. I am available for sessions in person and online. I've got a link tree on my Instagram, so feel free to jump on there. I'm also a teacher, so I'm teaching a beautiful course that's able to connect with your emotions, find out what they are and release them, which is really empowering. I want to give back the power to you because you truly hold it, and it's time to awaken your truth and your purpose. So that's a bit about me.
I'll pop all of Paola's details below in the description, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Let us know what resonated with you, what your key takeaways are. We're always open to hearing from you, and all I can say is stay tuned, because watch this space.
Oh, yes. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Natasha. God bless you. You're amazing. And to all the listeners, thank you for having me.
Wherever you're listening from, if you can give us a review and a 5-star rating, that would be so helpful in supporting this podcast. If this episode lights you up and inspires you, then please make sure that you share this podcast and make sure that you tag me on Instagram. I am beyond grateful and so blessed to call this work. It just means so much. Together, we will learn and grow. Staying anchored in your heart means staying anchored to your humanity. All my love, Natasha.